Okay, let's talk about mean absolute deviation. First of all, let's talk about what these three words mean. Using the word mean again. What is the mean? The average, okay? So I want you to think of mean absolute deviation as the average, okay? All right, what is the word absolute? When we're talking about math, what does that make you think of? Absolute. Well, total, but something else we did earlier with integers. Remember the two bars? Absolute. Thank you. Absolute value. Absolute value is always positive. And what is the thing in math we say is always positive? Remember Ferris Bueller in the car? Distance. Thank you. Okay, so when we're talking about mean absolute deviation, we're talking about the average distance from the average. And I know that sounds weird, but I'm going to explain to you why that means that. The word deviation, let's say we have a plan, excuse me, and we change our plan. Okay, we're going to deviate from our plan. We're going to separate from it. We're going to go a different way. If you have a deviated septum, that's a broken nose, your bone is separated. So the word deviate means to separate from. Okay? The average distance from the average. That's how far each number is from the average. Again, to find the mean, what do? We add and divide. Yep, add them all together, divide by the number of numbers. Okay? The last thing I want you to remember, absolute means positive. Okay? Since we're talking about distance, our numbers are all going to be positive. Here's our technical definition of mean absolute deviation. The average, or mean, and you will hear me refer to these words, they are synonyms. Okay? Average and mean, they mean the same thing.
Wait, what does that say?
Mean, M-E-A-N. So it is the average or mean of the absolute distance, which is positive, of each value in a data set from the mean of the entire set. So again, in easier words, average distance from the average. So now let's walk through how we find mean absolute deviation. And you will hear this referred to as the MAD, M-A-D, okay? I hope it does not make you mad when I show you what you have to do. All right, so here we go. What is my first step in dealing with statistics? What do I do no matter what, every single time?
Put the data set.
Absolutely. I'm going to put them in order from least to greatest. I'm going to go ahead and give you a set of numbers, and I'm going to list them for you in order, okay? So here, today we're going to use 7, 9, 10, 10, 15, 20, 35, and 70. Now, once I have listed my numbers in order, that's step 1, I'm going to find the mean of my data set. So real quick, you guys do this. Use your calculator. Add all of these together, and what are we going to divide by? Not 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes, we're going to divide by 8. So add them all together and divide by 8. Check it again. We've got 122? Yes. 22 is correct. Remember, since you're already using something to make things easier on you, calculator, it would not hurt you to do your mean twice. Make sure you get the same thing, because it's very easy to make a mistake entering a number. Neatness and organization when you're finding the MAD is going to be huge. because you're going to have lots of opportunities you can make a mistake, and you'll see why in just a minute. Yes, sir, question?
Why do they call it MAD?
Because it just stands for mean absolute deviation. MAD. Okay, so I found the mean. It says make a table that shows each value. So I'm going to I have a table for you set up to do your homework problems, but we're going to make our own over here. I'm going to list my numbers. And again, as I told you, this is just to make it a little more organized. Move this out of the way. Okay. The next thing I want to put in there is my mean, which is 22. I'm going to go ahead and write that next to each number. I've got my set of data, and then I just wrote my mean next to every number, and I'll tell you why in just a second. I'm going to give everybody a chance to catch up. Okay, like it says in our instructions, make a table that shows each value in the data set. We've done it. And how far away it is from the mean. It's deviation. How far is it separated? So someone put in your calculator 7 minus 22. Because remember, we're looking for difference. Difference means to subtract. Okay, negative 15. Now, let's pause for just a second. We're talking about distance here. Do I want to use negative 15? Why not? Distance is always positive. So I'm mentally going to go ahead and change that negative 15 to positive 15. That tells me that 7 is 15 away from 22. I'm going to do that for every number. So how far is 9 from 22?
13.
Okay. What about 10?
12.
And I've got 2 of those. What about 15?
7.
Yes, 7. What about 20?
2.
35?
12. Negative
Not quite. Don't be afraid to use a calculator.
13.
13, thank you. And how far is 70 from 22? 48. Okay, this is how far each number is away from the mean. Monday, when you came in, and I gave you back your test from Friday, and I had your mean written on the board, how many of you looked at your test score to see how you compared to the average score of your class? Okay, to see if you were above it or below it, okay? Oh, I didn't know. All right, so that's what we've done right here. Shh, listen, guys. This is what we've done. We have figured out, okay, 7 is 15 below my mean. 70 is 48 above my mean. But because we're talking distance, they're all positive. Now, our next step, find the sum of all the deviations. What does sum mean for us to do? Add them all up. So I'm going to add all of my new numbers up and get my total.
All your what? 120.
You got 120? Anybody else? You get 120?
You added, right? 122. 122.
Okay, it is. Oops, I'm so sorry, guys. It is 122. Okay? So listen, we're not done. We are not done. Because remember, I want to know the average distance from the average. Okay? I've just added up all of my distances from the average. And what's my last step? Divide by the number of numbers. Okay, I'm going to put a subtraction sign up here. Okay? Oops, and this is add and divide. Okay? So, once I have this number, I have 8 numbers. So I do 122 divided by 8, and what is my MAD?
15.25.
You've got it, 15.25. This is my mean absolute deviation. This number tells me that most of my data set falls within 15 points of my average. Do all of them do that? No. Most of them are pretty close. Do you see one that's not? What about this one? Okay. This is your outlier. So again, with an outlier, this is 3 times more than my mean absolute deviation. That means it is definitely an outlier. It does not fit with the rest of my data set. Everything else is remotely close to 15.25. Okay? So again, this is the average distance each of these numbers is from your average. Okay, let's do one more. We're going to do one together from your homework. I'm going to pause for a second. Okay, so we are going to do one together. Okay, so here we go. Mean absolute deviation. The chart's already drawn for you. Okay, what's the first thing we do? Put them in order. Let's go ahead and do that. This is our data column. We're going to list our numbers there. So we've got 7, 8, 10, 10, and 13. Okay, real quick. Go ahead, find your mean of those numbers. How do you find the mean?
Add them all together.
Perfect.
And then divide
48.
Well, no, 48 is greater than my largest number.
37.6. You said the mean.
Mean, guys.
48.
Hey, listen, if you're saying 48, 13 is my highest number. Can my mean be greater than my largest number?
7.6. It's 9.6.
Thank you. Say it again, Aiden. 9.6.
9.6. Does that say 26, 26?
No, that says 9.6.
So it's 9.9.
Okay? Now, I want you to X out this column because we talked a minute ago about absolute value and distance. So we know that my distance has got to be positive. So we're not even going to bother if it's a negative number. If it's negative, we're going to go ahead and automatically make it positive. So how far is 7 from 9.6? 2 what?
0.6.
Okay. What about 8?
1.6.
Very good. What about 10?
0.4.
Okay, 0.4. And we've got 2 of those. What about 13?
No, I got it. 4 points. 4 points.
Mm-mm.
No, 3.6.
3.4. Remember, don't try to guess. Okay. Now, add them all together. That'll give you your sum.
Did that say 3.4?
Yes, 3.4.
Is it a little? It's 8.
8 what?
8.
Try it again.
8.4.
8.4. Okay?
8.4.
Now, how many numbers do I have?
5.
5? Now, to find the mean absolute deviation, 8.4 divided by 5 would give you what?
Wait, 1.68.
Thank you very much. 1.68. Okay? And that is mean absolute deviation.